Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Speak English Together. I'm Katie, and today's lesson is one of those topics that seems simple, but actually causes a lot of confusion in real life. It's something everyone needs, everyone understands, but when it comes to English, people suddenly freeze. And that topic is bathrooms, or washrooms, or restrooms, or toilets. Yes, all of them.
And I'm Tyler. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And I have to say, this topic is very real because no one plans to panic about English until the moment arrives. And suddenly, you're standing in a cafe or an airport or someone's house, and your brain goes completely blank. You know what you need, you just don't know what to say.
Exactly. And before we teach anything, I want to start with a short story because stories stick better than rules. A few years ago, I was traveling. New city, new place, busy street. I walked into a small cafe, ordered a drink, sat down, and then suddenly I realized I needed to go. You know that moment. There is no later, there is only now.
That moment does not wait for grammar.
Not at all. So I stood up, walked to the counter, smiled politely, and said, "Excuse me, where's the bathroom?" The person smiled back and said, "Oh, the toilet is upstairs." And in that moment, something clicked for me. I understood that in English, people use many different words for the same place. And if you don't know them, you can hesitate, feel awkward, or even feel embarrassed.
And that hesitation is the real problem, not the vocabulary itself. Because learners hear bathroom and they think, okay, I know this word. But then they hear restroom or washroom or toilet. And suddenly they think, wait, is this a different place?
Yes, and that confusion is exactly why we're making this video. By the end of this lesson, you won't be guessing anymore. You'll know which word sounds natural at home, which one fits public places, which one sounds formal, and which ones you should probably avoid saying loudly in polite company. And we'll do it slowly, clearly, and with real examples.
And the best part is, once you understand this, you'll never stress about it again. Because this is one of those life skills that quietly builds confidence. When you know what to say in these everyday moments, English starts to feel less like a subject and more like something you actually use.
Exactly. So let's start with the most familiar word, the word almost everyone learns first, bathroom. Now, bathroom is extremely common, especially in American English. And here's something important. Bathroom does not always mean there is a bath or a shower. In daily conversation, bathroom simply means the room with the toilet. That's it.
Yes, and that surprises a lot of learners because they imagine a bathtub, towels, maybe a shower curtain. But in real life, when someone says bathroom, they usually just mean the toilet room. You can use this word in homes, cafes, small stores, offices, almost anywhere casual.
Right. If you walk into a coffee shop and say, "Excuse me, where's the bathroom?" no one will think twice. It's natural, it's polite, it's safe. And that's why bathroom is such a good default word if you're ever unsure.
Now, let's talk about a word that confuses learners even more, especially if they're watching English videos from different countries. That word is washroom. Washroom is very common in Canada, extremely common. You'll hear it in malls, restaurants, schools, offices. People use it naturally without thinking.
Yes, and washroom sounds polite and neutral. If you say, "Sorry, where's the washroom?" in Canada, it sounds completely normal. In the United States, people will still understand you, but it may sound a little Canadian. Not wrong, just regional.
And that's a good lesson in itself. English changes depending on place, not because one is better than the other, but because language grows differently in different regions.
Exactly. Now let's talk about another very important word, restroom. Restroom is extremely common in public places, especially in American English. Airports, malls, movie theaters, restaurants. Restroom sounds polite and professional. It's a great word to use when you want to sound respectful and neutral.
Yes, if you're in a public place and you're not sure which word to use, restroom is an excellent choice. You can say, "Excuse me, is there a restroom nearby?" That sentence works almost everywhere. And notice again, "excuse me" makes it softer and more polite.
And something interesting happens when you know these words. Your brain stops racing. You don't think, which word is correct? You just choose one that feels right. And that's when English starts to feel natural.
Exactly, and we're just getting started because there are still other words people use, some formal, some direct, some written more than spoken, and knowing the difference helps you avoid awkward moments.
Very awkward moments.
Yes, and we'll talk about those next.
Okay, let's move on to a word that everyone knows, but many learners feel unsure about using. The word is toilet. Now, toilet is very direct. It refers to the actual object, not the room. In many countries, saying toilet is completely normal, and in British English, people use it all the time without any problem. But in American English, especially in public or polite situations, it can sound a little too direct. Not rude, just very literal. So if you're at a friend's house, asking, "Where's the toilet?" is fine. But in a restaurant, an office, or a store, most people will naturally choose bathroom or restroom instead. The key idea here is not that toilet is wrong, but that context matters.
Yes, and this is where learners sometimes feel confused because they learn one word and think, okay, this must work everywhere. But English doesn't really work like that. I remember hearing a learner walk into a very fancy hotel lobby once and ask very loudly, "Where is the toilet?" Everyone understood the question, of course, but the moment felt a little awkward because the place was elegant and quiet. A softer word like restroom would have matched the situation better. So the word was correct, but the setting needed a different tone. That's something native speakers do automatically, and that's exactly what we're practicing here.
Now let's talk about a word you may see written, but you probably won't hear very often in daily conversation. That word is lavatory. Lavatory sounds formal and a little old-fashioned. You'll sometimes see it on signs, especially on airplanes, trains, or in older public buildings. You might also hear it in announcements, like "the lavatory is located at the back of the plane." That's perfectly correct English. But in normal daily conversation, people don't usually say lavatory. If you say it, people will understand you, but it can sound stiff or overly formal. So this is a great word to recognize and understand, but not one you need to actively use in casual conversation.
Exactly. Think of lavatory as a recognition word, not a production word. You need to know it so you're not confused when you see it, but you don't need to use it when you speak. Most native speakers don't. If someone asked me, "Where's the lavatory?" I would understand immediately, but it would sound a little unusual in a cafe or at someone's house. That's why bathroom and restroom are such safe choices in most situations.
Another word you might see, especially when traveling, is WC, which stands for water closet. This is extremely common in Europe and other parts of the world, especially on signs. But in spoken English, especially in North America, people almost never say WC out loud. If you say, "Where is the WC?" people will probably understand, but they might pause for a moment because it sounds unusual. So again, WC is something you should recognize when reading signs, but not something you need to use when speaking.
Yes, and this is a great reminder that English vocabulary isn't just about speaking. Sometimes it's about understanding what you see around you. When you're traveling, recognizing words like WC or lavatory helps you move confidently without stress. But when it comes to speaking, simpler and more natural words are usually better.
Now let's talk about a phrase that sounds very polite and gentle: powder room. This phrase is usually used in homes, especially when guests are visiting. It sounds softer than bathroom, and it's often used in more formal homes or polite conversation. For example, someone might say, "The powder room is down the hall." You almost never hear this phrase in public places like restaurants or malls. It's mainly for private homes and usually for guests.
Yes, and if you use powder room correctly, it can sound very natural and polite. But if you use it in the wrong place, it can sound strange. So again, context is everything. Homes, yes. Public places, no.
Let's slow down for a moment and make everything very clear. Bathroom is your safest and most common word, especially in American English. Washroom is very common in Canada. Restroom is polite and perfect for public places. Toilet is direct and refers to the object, so it's fine, but context matters. Lavatory is formal and rare in casual speech. WC is mostly written, not spoken, and powder room is polite and usually only used in homes.
Yes, and if you ever feel unsure, just remember this simple rule. If you say bathroom or restroom, you will almost always be okay. Those two words will carry you through most real-life situations without any awkwardness.
Now, let's talk about how people actually ask these questions in real life, because native speakers don't always use perfect textbook sentences. Very often, they keep it short and polite. For example, "Excuse me, where's the bathroom?" Or, "Sorry, is there a restroom nearby?" You'll notice people often start with "excuse me" or "sorry." These words soften the question and make you sound polite, even if the rest of your sentence is simple.
Yes, and sometimes people ask in an even more casual way, especially with friends or coworkers. They might say, "Hey, do you know where the bathroom is?" That's very natural in informal settings. And when someone helps you, the response doesn't need to be long. A simple "thank you" or "thanks" is perfect.
That's another thing learners sometimes forget. Short responses are completely fine. Let's imagine a full real-life situation so everything comes together. You're in a busy shopping mall. It's loud, there are people everywhere. You suddenly realize you need to go. Instead of panicking, you walk up to an employee and say, "Excuse me, is there a restroom nearby?" The person points and gives directions. You say, "Thank you," and you go. No stress, no confusion. That's exactly what confident, natural English looks like.
And that confidence doesn't come from knowing complicated grammar. It comes from knowing the right word for the moment. Once you understand that, situations like this stop feeling scary.
You know, when you really think about it, this topic is interesting because bathrooms are such a normal part of daily life, but the language around them can feel strangely stressful for learners. People don't usually practice these words in textbooks, but then suddenly, in real life, you need them. And in that moment, your brain doesn't want options, it wants one clear, safe sentence. That's why understanding how these words feel in different places matters so much.
Exactly. And I think what surprises a lot of learners is that native speakers don't think about these words very deeply. They don't stop and analyze them. They just feel what fits the moment. If they're in a restaurant, restroom comes out naturally. If they're at home, bathroom feels right. And if they're with close friends, sometimes they don't even finish the sentence. They just say, "Hey, where's the bathroom?" and keep walking.
Yes, that's so true. And another thing people don't talk about enough is how tone and body language do a lot of the work for you. Even if your sentence is very simple, if you start with "excuse me" or "sorry," people immediately understand that you're being polite. You don't need fancy words, you don't need long explanations, you just need a calm voice and one clear word.
And sometimes people worry too much about being perfect. They think, what if I use the wrong word? But in reality, if you say bathroom, restroom, or even toilet, people will almost always understand you. The difference is not about being understood. It's about sounding natural and comfortable. And that comfort grows with practice, not memorization.
Yes, and practice doesn't always mean speaking out loud. Sometimes it's just listening and noticing. For example, next time you're in a public place, listen to what people actually say. You'll hear things like, "Do you know where the restroom is?" Or, "Is there a bathroom around here?" People rarely sound formal. They sound human.
I remember when I was younger, even as a native speaker, there were moments when I felt awkward asking.
Like when you're in someone's house for the first time and you don't want to interrupt the conversation. You sit there thinking, okay, how do I ask this politely? And then you realize there's no secret sentence. You just say, hey, can I use the bathroom? And that's it.
Exactly. And that sentence, can I use the bathroom, is such a useful one. It works in homes, at a friend's place, even in small offices. It's polite, simple, and clear. And notice the word use. You're not asking where it is yet, you're just asking for permission. That feels respectful, especially in someone's home.
And the response is usually very simple, too. People might say, of course, or sure, or yeah, it's down the hall. You don't need to prepare a long answer back. A simple thank you is perfect. That's another thing learners sometimes forget. Short responses are fine.
Yes, you don't need to say, thank you very much for your kindness and support. Just thank you works. And if you want to sound a little warmer, you can say, thanks, I appreciate it. But again, simple is powerful.
Another situation people ask about a lot is work. Offices can feel tricky because they're professional but not formal like a ceremony. In most offices, bathroom or restroom both work. You might hear someone say, I'm just going to the restroom, or the bathroom is on the second floor. Nobody makes a big deal out of it.
Right, and if you're ever unsure at work, listen first. If everyone around you says restroom, then use that. If they say bathroom, then follow their lead. Matching the language of the people around you is one of the fastest ways to sound natural.
It's like joining a small language club without signing up.
Yes, exactly. And one more thing I want to mention is signs. Sometimes learners panic because they don't see the word bathroom. They see restroom, lavatory, or even just symbols. That doesn't mean they're lost. It just means English has variety. Once you know these words, your stress level drops a lot.
And stress is the real enemy here, not vocabulary. Stress makes people freeze. Vocabulary gives you options. When you know you have options, you relax. And when you relax, your English flows better.
That's such an important point. English isn't about saying the perfect word, it's about saying a good enough word with confidence. Bathrooms are a great example of that. There's no test, there's no score. You just need to be understood and feel comfortable.
And once you have that comfort, something interesting happens. You stop translating in your head. You don't think, what is the correct English word? You just think, I need to go, and the sentence appears. That's when English becomes part of your life, not just a subject you study.
And honestly, that's our goal with this channel. Not perfect English, real English. English you can use when you're tired, distracted, or in a hurry, because those are the moments that matter most.
Especially bathroom moments.
Especially those. So if you take one thing away from today, let it be this. English doesn't need to be complicated to be effective. You don't need rare words or perfect sentences. You just need the right word for the moment and the confidence to use it.
And the funny thing is, once you understand these everyday words, bathroom, restroom, washroom, toilet, they stop being vocabulary. They just become part of life. You don't think about them anymore. You just say them and move on.
Exactly. And that's when you know your English is growing, when you stop translating in your head, when you stop worrying about being correct, when you start focusing on being understood.
Because real life doesn't wait for you to remember a rule. It just happens. And English should support you in those moments, not slow you down.
So next time you're out, at a cafe, at work, at someone's home, and you need to ask, you'll know what to say, calmly, naturally, without stress.
And hopefully without panic.
Hopefully. And remember, every small moment like this builds confidence. One question, one word, one real-life interaction at a time.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. Just listening, just noticing, this is already practice. We'll see you next time.
Yes, thank you for learning with us and for choosing real English over perfect English. Take care. Bye for now.